Mikey Garcia says he wants the Lomachenko fight, but he finds it near impossible to get it done, so he's pursuing Errol Spence. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang. Please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chat channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Big up to the channel members. We got a couple new channel members. I got a lot in store. I will be covering Wilder Fury. So, I'll probably try to get some exclusives or, some early access stuff there. And we're going to make this thing work. Happy holidays to everybody. Now, I watched a video. Mikey Garcia did an interview at the PBC on Fox with Michelle Joy Phelps, Behind the Gloves. Link is in the description. Shout out to them. And I'm not going to quote it verbatim. You guys can watch the video and give Michelle the view. But I kind of want to encompass what he was saying. Basically, Mikey Garcia says the best fight at lightweight is himself versus Vasyl Lomachenko. He believes that Lomachenko is down to fight him, but his handlers, basically Top Rank and Bob Arum, they have other alternative plans for him. And he brought up a good point. He says, look who I'm fighting. I'm trying to conquer a 5th division, fighting, a boogeyman at welterweight, Errol Spence, and he's fighting Jose Pedraza. He said, no disrespect, Pedraza is a world champion. However, I'm taking on totally different challenges. And I think what he says is actually accurate there, because Pedraza is new to this weight class, just like Lomachenko. And Pedraza was knocked out just a year or two ago in the lighter weight class against Gervonta Tank Davis. So we've seen some of the Pedraza vulnerabilities. He fought Ray Beltran, who, was a guy who he was like fighting for his citizenship. I like Ray Beltran, but he wasn't like a long-standing champion. He was like more or less a vet. He had suspension because he tested positive for steroids at one point, right? So beating him, that's cool. Like, I thought Pedraza looked good in that fight, but it's not the same as Mikey going up against Errol Spence. I think we can all agree to that. If we're being realistic, that's a whole different ball game. And he's like, this is what I'm about. This is the type of smoke I'm looking for. I told the world that I was trying to fight Errol Spence, and it's here now. So, Mikey, no one can ever win, lose, or draw. No one can ever test his cojones as a fighter. It's very evident what he's about. And I celebrate that. If I had a choice between seeing that or, the opposite, I would always choose the fighter that is willing to, pursue greatness when it makes sense, like Mikey Garcia. But back to Lomachenko, he says he would love to fight. It's a great fight at lightweight, but he's not going to sit around and wait around. And he doesn't think it's in Top Rank's plans. He's like, they want to move him how they want to move him. So we're not going to just chase one fight. It's the best fight, but it's near impossible to make. And it's funny because a lot of people are talking about this Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight. And that's the same thing. We have not seen Top Rank and Al Heyman work together on a monumental fight like that. Like Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia or Spence versus Crawford. I'm talking about something that was not mandated. Like, it wasn't like a mandatory, you had to fight this guy type of thing. Because sometimes those fights happen where like Alexis Sato fights a DAZN Rock Nation guy or something, but we have yet to see it. And important fight at lightweight is the thing that upsets me as a fan is I don't blame Errol for fighting Mikey, and I don't blame Mikey for fighting Errol. Mikey is bored. He knows the other guy that would give him clout and recognition at lightweight, he doesn't think he can fight him because of his promotion. Despite what Lomachenko wants to do, he said, because Lomachenko called me out, mentioned my name years ago, but guess what? Nothing ever happened from it, which is fact. They mentioned each other's name and called each other out, but he says in this interview, I've never once been contacted by Top Rank. So that goes to show you that they're not truly interested in making the fight and they have other plans for him. So therefore, I'm not going to wait around. So I don't blame Errol. Errol's at welterweight, and he's trying to get smoked with the top names there, we'll just say. Keith Thurman's injured and was supposed to have his get back year this year. Now we find out he's not fighting until next year, this, that, and the third. You know, Sean Porter, you know, just different guys. So he's trying to get his career to the point where he's a pay-per-view star and making the top dollars and stuff. Mikey Garcia has the fan base, he has skills, and it's a big sellable fight. Jerry Jones, you got his buy-in. He's willing to host it in his Jerry's house, Jerry's world, or whatever they call it, you know, so it makes sense. Same thing with Mikey. Lomachenko is the best fight at lightweight for him, but he's not going to just wait around and waste away. He's already done that. And see, Mikey Garcia is very smart because he learned from that hiatus he had when he had that legal standoff with Top Rank. And I think that's what's made him even more of a monster. I think he's always been a skilled fighter, but he's even more of a monster because he knows how the fuck it felt when he was on the sidelines and couldn't fight legally. You know, I'm a professional fighter. That's why he was selling real estate and becoming a police cadet and officer and all this extra shit, because he had to do something to pacify his time. So Mikey Garcia has hit the ground running ever since he came back to the sport. He's been doing he's a free agent, but he's been doing a lot of business with the Al Heyman, Richard Schaefer, PBC side of things. And I think we owe a lot of that to the Top Rank standoff, because he's not. I remember seeing videos and I felt bad because he's in the gym knowing he's not going to get no fights because he couldn't come to terms with Top Rank. So he's not in a position where he's trying to stall his career out for a Lomachenko or any singular fight. And I agree. I told you the same thing with Amir Khan. Amir Khan, you know, silver medalist. He has whatever size name and fan base, but he started chasing fights. He's like, oh, I think I can beat Floyd Mayweather. I just feel, you know, he's saying, it just shows the class, you know, he's trying to chase Pacquiao and stuff. He couldn't get any of them. You're just wasting time, you know, and then you fight Chris Algieri, don't fight for a year, chasing Mayweather and Pacquiao, fights you still haven't gotten. Meanwhile, Pacquiao's fighting Broner, you know, Floyd fought Maidana, a guy that Khan beat, and then Khan's just left with none of them. And then Khan gets knocked out brutally, moves up, tries to get a big fight with the guy who's way too big for him. And Canelo does good for some odd rounds and then gets brutally knocked out with a singular punch, you know? So, you know, I don't think people should operate from a positioning of desperation where they're like, oh, yeah, you know, chasing a big fight or chasing one fight, because you just stall yourself out. You know, I really respect what Mikey's doing. He's a phenomenal fighter, win, lose, or draw. And I just think he's learned from being on the shelf, and he's not trying to go back for that for Lomachenko. And what he said is very valid. Look who Lomachenko's fighting. Lomachenko's fighting a guy that got knocked out in probably 2016 at a lower weight class by Tank Davis. He's bounced back, moved up, bounced back, and he beat Ray Beltran. But Crawford beat Ray Beltran years ago, you know? So nobody beat Errol Spence yet. Nobody. So Mikey is taking the tougher challenge for sure, you know, but he says he's open to coming back. He wants to keep that option open to come back to lightweight. Only thing that upsets me is just the politics and stuff is now in the process, he had to lose a belt that he earned through the fight game. He knocked out Dejan Zlaticanin and he was the WBC champion. And then he beat Robert Easter for the IBF. So he unified. And he had 2 belts. Lomachenko, if he beats Jose Pedraza, he will have 2 belts. And then that could have been a unification for undisputed. But now, Mikey Garcia, win, lose, or draw versus Errol Spence, if he goes back to lightweight, he's going to have to redo what he already did and fight Richard Comey or Comey versus whoever has that IBF strap to make it for undisputed. Or he could just, if he still has the WBC belt, I guess just fight Lomachenko, and then the winner will have like most belts in the division, but won't have all of them. The thing to me, it would have been sweeter if, since Lomachenko's 1 fight away from unifying and having 2 belts, and Mikey had 2 belts before he had to relinquish one of them, that would have been the fight I would have preferred over the Errol Spence, just because it's a once in a lifetime. It's kind of like Golovkin versus Billy Joe Saunders. Too much can happen in the sport of boxing. Gennady Golovkin had all the straps except for Billy Joe Saunders' WBO. But now it's all fucked up. Billy Joe Saunders failed a drug test. You know, the IBF stripped Golovkin for not fighting Sergey Derevyanchenko. Now the belts are all split up. Now you can't go through Saunders to get the WBO. You'd have to go through Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. You know, you have to go through to get an IBF belt. You're gonna have to go back and beat Jacobs again. You know, so it's just it's different. But if instead of chasing Canelo, if Team Golovkin would have fought against Billy Joe first after the Jacobs fight, then if they beat him, then they could say I have all the belts, and then they could have fought Canelo for undisputed. But this is what happens. That's why I don't believe in waiting. So it's kind of fucked up for the Mikey Garcia fight too, is because the belts are now split up. It's just like the Avengers Infinity War. You know, it's like the Infinity Stones are on whole separate planets as opposed to being on all one planet. So still a good fight, Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia, whether they have one belts or no belts. Me personally, I like when the implications is like everything, because we will know at that moment there's no other lightweight that could say they have what the winner of Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia has, which would be the belts, just like when Terrence Crawford and Usyk did it in their respective divisions. But it's boxing, you know, it is what it is. And Mikey didn't see, he said he's never been contacted. That's mighty telling too. He says, you know, actually Bob Arum has made statements like, Lomachenko, he'll beat Mikey and this guy in the same night. You know, he's made these comments, but then according to Mikey, you know, unless he's lying, which I don't see why he would about that, he said he never even been contacted. So it's just like any promoter or whatever, they could say whatever they want, but are they really actively trying to make the fight? And according to Mikey Garcia, he ain't got no call from him. So he was like, you know, this opportunity with Errol Spence, a guy I called out, presented himself. We can make a lot of money on the back end with pay-per-view. It's a challenge for me, so it's a fight that I'll get up for. So I'm fighting Errol. You know, I'm not gonna sit around and babysit division and not excite myself with, you know, by fighting Richard Commey. Like, personally, I think Richard Commey, I think that's a decent fight. Commey has power, and he gave Robert Easter a tough fight. But, you know, just look at it. Would you rather fight Richard Commey, a dangerous puncher, for whatever amount, low money, because it's not a big event, you know? Or would you rather fight at AT&T Stadium and get pay-per-view money and back-end money and a chance to shock the world, you know? So from a business perspective and a merit perspective, it would benefit you. You already beat Robert Easter, so what would it be to if you win? You know, I understand this triangle theories don't work, but I'm just saying, like, if you really boil it down, like, he already unified with Robert Easter, who beat Richard Commey. So beating Richard Commey just all around the board would do less for Mikey's career as opposed to if he beat Errol Spence Jr. That's my thoughts, and I'm done talking about it. Let me know what you guys think. Mikey versus Loma, maybe it's a possibility, but he believes that Top Rank, they're moving them how they want. And I agree, because you got to look at it like this. How come Lomachenko never fought Salido again? Because in my opinion, they didn't want to put him in there because they knew this guy already beat him. They want to let Lomachenko get good. You know what I'm saying? Like, acclimate to the pro game. Now a Salido fight, no one even wants to see that. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with Mikey here. I think Top Rank is clearly moving Lomachenko in a certain fashion, you know. And the funny thing is, Bob Arum, he almost talks with more praise to Lomachenko than Terrence Crawford, but to me, he's putting Crawford in the tougher fights. You know, Lomachenko's done well. He's had some tough fights early, you know, for only having 12 fights or whatever. But Terrence Crawford and Lomachenko are near the same age, and Crawford is just, he's being put in there with people who are like higher risk, low reward. You know, like just guys who are awkward, like Jose Benavidez, 6'1", you know, could box, comes from a fight family, former champion. And he's fighting him and Jeff Horn, who's bigger, his first fight, stuff like that. Meanwhile, Lomachenko's fighting a guy that got knocked out by Tank Davis, a guy that would be great to see Lomachenko fight. Just my thoughts. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego, signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.